You wake up in a strange place, in a room surrounded by a bunch of bunk beds. You are wearing a green jumpsuit with a number attached. Surrounding you are people in similar jumpsuits, including some you've never met before, people that you love and care about, and enemies that you thought had long since died. This is your introduction to the Squid Game. Hi guys, welcome back, or welcome to Dreamworks Switch to Life. And if the title of the video wasn't already a clue, I'm putting Dreamworks characters into Squid Game. If you don't know what Squid Game is, you've either been living under a rock, or you're too young, in which case do not go looking for Squid Game. It is not meant for kids. But this video will be somewhat kid-friendly. Essentially, Squid Game is a very popular Netflix TV show where 456 people compete in a series of games, and if you lose any of the games, you die. Yeah, sorry, this is going to be a sad video because I'm going to be killing off a bunch of Dreamworks characters. Anyway, the winner of the Squid Game will receive a jackpot prize of 45.6 billion won, or $38 million. At least that's in the original show. Here, the prize will be a bit different. We're going to put 500 Dreamworks characters from the movies and force them to compete in the Squid Game. And we're going to see who survives and eventually who wins. Please note that we're going to be dealing with 500 characters and then some, so this isn't going to be a single video. This is going to be a multi-part series. I don't know how many parts there's going to be, but this is round one. Welcome to Red Light, Green Light. But before we talk about our characters, we need to talk about how this is happening. First off, there are two characters that I want to talk about, the Game Master and the doll. The doll is most commonly seen in Red Light, Green Light. It's kind of a mascot for Squid Game. But we're going to replace her with Death.
And I don't mean it metaphorically or rhetorically or poetically or theoretically or in any other fancy way. I'm Death. Straight up.
I mean, just think about it. Death is straight up the god of death. So he can kill people who lose in the games, even if they are immortal. And there are plenty of stories about people who wager with death.
Everyone thinks they'll be the one to defeat me. But no one's escaped me yet.
He even has his own iconic song to match the doll's. Sadly, since he's a Dreamworks character and not going to compete in the Squid Game, let's see what happens if he did compete. First off, he would pass Red Light, Green Light, not just because he is a patient hunter and he enjoys the thrill of the hunt, but he's also fast, agile, and sneaky, able to hide in plain sight from everyone except his target, who he deliberately will reveal himself to. And due to the fact that he's been around since the dawn of time, he's also incredibly smart. Again, no one has ever been able to defeat him, including Puss in Boots. Because of his strength and his fighting skills, he would survive the Midnight Brawl, Tug of War, and the final battle in Squid Game. And because no one's been able to defeat him, he's smart enough to manipulate his opponent with marbles, so he would win that. The only ones I fear he would be defeated on are Honeycomb and the Glass Bridge. With Honeycomb, he could be defeated due to his strength, but honestly, he's patient, he's able to keep a cool head, and we actually see him carve a bunch of drawings into his sickles. So it's not hard to imagine he'd be able to carve a shape out of a cookie, especially because he can just lick it with his tongue. When it comes to glass stepping stones, however, I don't think he'd be able to tell the glass apart. But he's patient enough to not be among the first to go. In fact, he would probably want to watch everybody else die, so he might just go last. So anyway, if Death were to participate in the Squid Games, 9 times out of 10, he would most likely win it. Anyway, the other character I want to talk about is the Game Master. However, I'm not going to reveal his identity. Just like in the original show, it's going to be a secret from you guys, but I will give you some hints. He has never shown his face in a Dreamworks property, but one day he actually could. He's also the god of the multiverse, the embodiment of evil and darkness, and he's so powerful that he could easily travel the multiverse, gathering a bunch of characters from Dreamworks properties and making them compete in his games for his own sadistic pleasure. Oh, and he also has a flair for the dramatics. And with that, leave your thoughts down below as to who you guys think it could be. Anyway, with our game master and our doll, who is actually Death, revealed, it's time to reveal our 500 contestants. Now let me explain the rules. First off, all of these characters will be stripped completely naked, at which point they will be given the option to wear a green jumpsuit with a number, or have a temporary tattoo of their number tattooed to their skin, or their fur in the case of some animals. They will also be losing all of their items and weapons, so they can't use them in the game. This also means that some of them will be losing their abilities. For instance, Fairy Godmother. Since her magic comes from her magic wand, she won't have her magic in this game. But for someone like Metro Man, who just has superpowers in his DNA, he will have those superpowers in the game. You see what I'm saying? And now, here are our 500 competitors. From Ants, we have Z, Chip, Queen Ant, Muffin, Sergeant Barbados, General Mandible, Azteca, Grebs, Z's Psychiatrist, Foreman, Corporal Reaver, Princess Bala, Colonel Cutter. Then from the Prince of Egypt, we have Moses, Ramesses, Zipporah, Miriam, Aaron, Jethro, Pharaoh Seti, Queen Tuya, Hotep, and Hoi. From the Road to El Dorado, we have Miguel and Tulio, Chell, Zekel Khan, Chief Tanabuk, Cortez, Altivo, Bibo, Zaragoza, and the Acolyte. From Chicken Run, we have Ginger, Rocky, Mrs. Tweety, Mr. Tweety, Fowler, Mac, Bunty, Babs, Nick, and Fetcher, Molly, Frizzle, Dr. Fry, and Sir Reginald Smith, also known as Sir Eats-a-Lot. From Joseph, King of Dreams, we have Joseph, Judah, Jacob, Rachel, Asenath, Zuleika, Potiphar, Pharaoh, Simeon, the butler, the baker, Reuben, Levi, Issachar, Benjamin, the lead trader, the slave trader, the auctioneer, and the horse trader. Now, these are not all of the characters, but from Shrek 1, we have Shrek, Donkey, Fiona, Farquaad. From Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, we have Spirit, Rain, Esperanza, the Colonel, Little Creek, Sergeant Adams, the Eagle, Murphy, a soldier, Bill, Joe, Pete, Jake, Roy, though I don't actually know who's who, so we're just gonna call them a group. From Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas, we have Sinbad, Marina, Eris, Spike, Proteus, Kale, Dymus, Rat, Jin, Lee, Luca, Jed, Grum, Chum, the Tower Guard, and at number 100 from Shrek 2, we have Puss in Boots, Fairy Godmother, Prince Charming, King Harold, and Queen Lillian. From Shark Tale, we have Oscar, Don Lino, Angie, Lenny, Lola, Sykes, Ernie, Bernie, Frankie, Luca, Don Feinberg, and Katie Current. From Madagascar, we have Alex, Marty, Melman, Gloria, King Julian XIII, Maurice, and Mort. From the Wallace and Gromit franchise, we have Wallace, Gromit, Hutch, Victor Quartermine, Philip, Lady Tottington, Police Constable McIntosh, Reverend Clement Hedges, Mrs. Mulch, Mr. Growbag, Mrs. Thrip, and the cooker, Feathers McGraw, Shaun the Sheep, Gwendolyn Ramsbottom, Preston, Paella Bakewell, Fluffles, and Baker Bob. From Over the Hedge, we have RJ, Vern, Hammy, Stella, Ozzy, Heather, Vincent, Dwayne LaFondant, Gladys Sharp, Lou, Penny, Spike, Bucky, Quilio, and Tiger. From Flushed Away, we have Roddy St. James, Rita, LaFrog, Whitey, Spike, Sid, and the Toad. And a couple entries from Shrek the Third, Artie, and Merlin. From B-Movie, we have Barry B. Benson, Vanessa Bloom, Adam Flamen, Leighton T. Montgomery, Ken, Moose Blood the Mosquito. From Kung Fu Panda 1, we have Po, Shifu, Tai Lung, Oogway, Tigress, Mantis, Crane, Viper, Monkey, Mr. Ping, Zhang, and Commander Vacher. From Madagascar 2, Escape to Africa, we have Zuba, Makunga, Flory, Moto Moto, and Nana. From Monsters vs. Aliens, we have Susan Murphy, also known as Ginormica, benzoate acetylene bicarbonate, also known as Bob, Dr. Herbert Cockroach, The Missing Link, General W.R. Munger, Galaxar, Derek Dietel, and President Hathaway. From the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, we have Hiccup, and at number 200, Toothless. We also have Stoic, Gobber, Astrid, Stormfly, Meatlug, Fishlegs, Snotlout, Hookfang, Roughnut, Toughnut, Barf, and Belch. Then from Shrek Forever After, we have Rumpelstiltskin, Brogan, Gretchen, Cookie, and Griselda the Witch. From Megamind, we have Megamind, Minion, who would later change his name to Chum, Roxanne Ritchie, Titan, also known as Hal Stewart, and Music Man, previously known as Metro Man. From Kung Fu Panda 2, we have Lord Shen, the Wolf Boss, Soothsayer, Master Ox, Master Croc, Master Thundering Rhino. From the first Puss in Boots, we have Kitty Softpaws, Humpty Alexander Dumpty, Jack, and Jill. From Madagascar 3, we have Skipper, Captain Chantel Dubois, Vitaly, Gia, and Stefano. From Rise of the Guardians, we have Jack Frost, Nicholas St. North, Pitch Black, E. Aster Bunnymund, Tuthina, Sandman, and Jamie Bennett. From the Croods, we have Grug, Eep, Guy, Ugga, Gran, Thunk, Sandy, Belt, Douglas, and Chunky. From Turbo, we have, of course, Turbo, also known as Theo, Chet, Tito, Angelo, Guy Gagne, Smooth Move, Burn, Skidmark, Bobby, Kimberly, Paz, Whiplash, and White Shadow. From the Mr. Peabody and Sherman film, we have Mr. Peabody, Sherman, Penny, Paul Peterson, Patty Peterson, Leonardo da Vinci, Mrs. Grunion, Albert Einstein, Agamemnon, Principal Prudy, and the Mona Lisa. From How to Train Your Dragon 2, we have Volca, Eret, Drago, Cloudjumper, Skullcrusher, Grumpy, and Volca's Bewilderbeast and Drago's Bewilderbeast. Yeah, we're going to need a big field for these guys. Then from the Penguins of Madagascar, we have Kowalski, Rico, Private, Classified, Corporal, Short Fuse, Eva, and Dave. From Home, we have O, Tip, Smek, Lucy, Kyle, and Gorg. And at number 300 from the Kung Fu Panda 3, Kai, Leash Ann, and Mei Mei. From Trolls, we have Poppy, Branch, Bridget, Gristle, Chef, Creek, DJ Suki, King Gristle Sr., Biggie, King Peppy, Cooper, Satin, Chenille, Guy Diamond, Harper, Smidge, Fuzzbert, Cloud Guy, and Mr. Dinkles. From the Boss Baby, we have Theodore Templeton, Tim Templeton, Ted Templeton, Janice Templeton, Francis E. Francis, Eugene, Jimbo, Stacy, and the Three Triplets. From the Captain Underpants franchise, we have George Beard, Harold Hutchins, Mr. Principal Benjamin Krupp, also known as Captain Underpants. We also have Professor Pippi P.P. Diarrhea Steen Poopy Pants Esquire, Melvin Sneedley, and Edith the Lunch Lady. From How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, we have Grimmel, the Light Fury, and a Death Gripper. From Abominable, we have Yi, Jin, Pang, Everest, Mr. Burnish, Dr. Zara, and Nine. From Trolls World Tour, we have Queen Barb, Delta Dawn, Prince Darnell, also known as Prince D, Hickory, King Quincy, Queen Essence, Tiny Diamond, Tresillo, Dickory, Legsley, Chaz the Smooth Jazz Troll, Trollsart, Thrash, King Trollix, and Riff, Penny Whistle, and the K-pop trolls, including Wani, Baby Bun, Gomdori, Ari, and Kim Petite. From the Croods A New Age, we have Phil, Hope, Dawn, Sash, and a Punch Monkey. From Spirit Untamed, we have Lucky Prescott, Prue Granger, Abigail Stone, Jim Prescott, Cora Prescott, Mr. Al Granger, and Hendrix. Also, we have the horses Spirit Jr., Chica Linda, and Boomerang. From the Boss Baby Family Business, we have Tina Templeton, Tabitha Templeton, Carol Templeton, Dr. Erwin Armstrong, and Wizzy. From the Tales of Arcadia franchise, but more specifically Troll Hunters Rise of the Titans, we have James Lake Jr., or Jim, Tobias Domzowski, Claire Nunez, Blinkus Galadrigal, also known as Blinky, Argamont, also known as Arg, Hizardukes Kasparin, or Dukesy, Krell Terran, Aja Terran, Steve Palchuk, Eli Pepperjack, Archie, or Archibald, Stewart, Barbara Lake, Walter Strickler, Namora, Varvartos Vex, Belrock Skrell, Nari, Coach Lawrence, Charlemagne, and Zong Shi. From the bad guys, we have Mr. Wolf, Mr. Snake, Mr. Shark, Mr. Piranha, Miss Tarantula, Diane Foxington, Professor Marmalade, Chief Misty Luggins, and Tiffany Fluffit. Oh, and also Cuddles. From Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, we have Perito, Goldilocks, Mama Bear, Papa Bear, Baby Bear, Big Jack Horner, Mama Luna, and the Doctor, also known as the Barber. From Ruby Gilman Teenage Kraken, we have Ruby Gilman, Agatha Gilman, Chelsea Vandersea, aka Narissa, Arthur Gilman, Sam Gilman, Grandmama Gilman, Brill Gilman, Captain Gordon Lighthouse, Davy, Connor, Margot, Trevin, and Bliss. From Trolls Band Together, we have John Dory, Clay, Spruce, who changed his name to Bruce, Floyd, Viva, Velvet, and Veneer, Crimp, and making up the band of Kismet, Boom, Hype, Ablaze, and Tricky. From Orion in the Dark, we have Orion, Dark, Hypatia, Light, Insomnia, Unexplained Noises, who changed her name to Debbie, Sleep, Quiet, Orion's Mom, Orion's Dad, Tico, and Sweet Dreams. From Megamind vs. the Doom Syndicate, we have Keiko Merida, Lady Doppler, Lord Nighty Night, Pierre Pressure, Behemoth, Mel, also known as Mr. Donut, The Warden, Machiavillain, Christina Christo, A Hostess, Eccentric Eddie, Polly227, and the Go Fish Gang, including the Big Kingfish, Blue Mackerel, Red Snapper, and Mayor Jody Smelt. From Kung Fu Panda 4, we have Zhen the Chameleon, Han, Granny Boar, Captain Fish, as well as his mom Chip, and of course we have 3 Savage Bunnies. From The Wild Robot, we have Rosum Unit 7134, Fink, Brightbill, Longneck, Paddler, Vontra, Thorn, Thunderbolt, and Pinktail makes number 500. I will also be including characters from the upcoming Dogman movie, but since that's not released yet, I can't talk about them in this video. So, now that we have our 500 competitors lined up, let's explain the rules of Red Light, Green Light. For the first game, you will be playing Red Light, Green Light. You are allowed to move forward when I shout out Green Light. You have to stop when I shout out Red Light. And if I detect any movement afterwards, you will be eliminated. You have 5 minutes to cross the finish line. Oh, and for the record, the field they are on is 328 feet long. And since we have 2 Bewilderbeast participating, and we're going to just make the field as wide as it needs to be so that they don't squash any opponents. And with that, we start the game. Death begins his whistle, and the characters move forward. And then, red light. Finally, it's time to talk about who lives and who dies. First off, the people who cross the finish line first are the speedsters. These are the guys who can cross the entire field without ever hearing red light once. This includes Metro Man, Turbo, and of course, we have Hammy. I also want to give an honorable mention to Hal Stewart, also known as Titan. Since Titan has the same powers, he does technically have super speed. Problem is that at the end of the movie, Hal lost that super speed, and even if he did have it, chances are that he wouldn't know how to use it. So in this case, he's just a normal, generic Hal Stewart. And with that in mind, the first deaths happen. Obviously, the first people to die are the flyers. This is anybody who thinks that they can just fly over the field and then hover in place. Hovering still means that your wings are flapping, which means that you die. This means that anybody with wings has a chance to die, but the exception is that if they choose to stay on the ground during the first round. This includes characters like Chip, Muffin, Colonel Cutter, the Eagle, Fairy Godmother, Barry B. Benson, Adam Flayman, Mooseblood the Mosquito, Stormfly, Meatlug, Hookfang, Barfin Belch, Toothina, Cloudjumper, Skullcrusher, Eva, the Light Fury, a Death Gripper, Trollsart, Charlemagne, Insomnia, Longneck, Thunderbolt. A couple characters who don't get killed due to flying are Toothless, because he would most likely wait for Hiccup to saddle up, at which point he would see everybody die, and then he would be smart enough to realize that flying would be a death sentence. Same thing with Hiccup, who would most likely be the one to figure it out. Bright Bill would probably survive just because he would spend the first time talking with his mom about a good strategy to win the game, but as soon as Roz would realize that Bright Bill would be in danger, she would most likely try to order him to remain on her shoulder or something. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There are a few flyers who would probably hesitate to see what's going on before they take off, but unfortunately there's also plenty of flyers that I just included who would do that exact thing and then take off because they are panicking and want to escape out of there. There are a few characters, like Toothless, who are smart enough to not panic and just stay put on the ground. Speaking of, once these flyers are gone and blood is flying everywhere, people will have different fight or flight reactions. Sure, some people might have the instinct to freeze, which is really great in this game, but there's plenty who would choose to fight or flee. There's the panickers, who will all be killed immediately afterwards. If not immediately, then at some point later in the game. This includes, but is probably not limited to, Altivo, Bebo, Frizzle, Sir Reginald Smith, Jacob, Rachel, Asenath, the Baker, Reuben, Levi, Issachar, Benjamin, the lead trader, the slave trader, the auctioneer, the horse trader, Donkey, Spirit, Rain, Esperanza, the soldier, Bill, Joe, Pete, Jake, Roy, Melman the giraffe, Reverend Clement Hedges, Mrs. Mulch, Mr. Growback, Miss Thrimp, Baker Bob, Spike, Bucky, Quilio, Tiger, Sid, Zang, Jamie Bennett, Bobby, Sherman, Penny, Paul Peterson, Patty Peterson, Principal Prudy, O, Smeck, Kyle, Creek, Biggie, Harper, Ted, Janice, Edith, Pang, Legsley, Punch Monkey, Jim Prescott, Spirit Jr., Chicalinda, Boomerang, Coach Lawrence, Tiffany Fluffit, Mama Luna, Dr. Barber, Sam Gilman, Captain Gordon Lighthouse, and unfortunately his pet crab Davy, Connor, Margot, Crimp, Boom, Hype, Ablaze, Tricky, Orion, Orion's mom, Orion's dad, Tico, Mel or Mr. Donut, the hostess, and Mayor Jody Smelt. These are all of the characters who I feel like would panic, and also just because Biggie would panic and most likely faint from all the sight of blood, it's likely that Mr. Dinkles would probably not make it across the finish line. Sorry, he's just too small, and unfortunately, I don't think any of the other trolls can carry him. Anyway, after that first round of deaths and all the people are done panicking and they manage to calm themselves down, the game will continue. At this point, the next people who would be most likely to die are the ones who are so arrogant that they won't care about the rules. They'll just try to stop the game from happening, at which point they will die. Among them is Ramesses, Seti, the Queen, Hotep, Hoi, and the Pharaoh from Joseph King of Dreams. The reason I say that is that all of these characters are just used to being the guys in charge. They're never going to be able to take orders. Same thing with Cortez and Zaragoza. We also have Rocky, who would probably be arrogant enough to think he will survive, only to not survive. Then there's also the Tower Guard, and Frankie the Shark. He would die because of his arrogance. King Julian the 13th, again, used to giving orders, not taking them. Vincent, yeah, he's arrogant. Gladys Sharp, she is the definition of a Karen. And I don't know about you guys, but Karens will not survive in red light, green light. Anyway, we also have Commander Vachir. He's arrogant. Makunga, also arrogant. Moto is not the best listener, especially when it comes comes to girls. And of course, there's Derek Deedle, same issue. Snotlout, he's arrogant. Titan is also very arrogant. And we also have the chef from Trolls. She's pretty arrogant. King Gristle Sr., yeah, he doesn't even listen to most of his subjects. Zhongxi is definitely the kind of person who would spend the entire game looking for his chronosphere, and if he doesn't get it, then he will take out whoever he feels has it. And unfortunately, he just wouldn't care about his own survival in this instance, so he dies. Big Jack Horner, I mean, this guy is the definition of I don't care about anyone or anything except what I want, and I don't care what I have to do to get it. He's definitely arrogant. And then Paddler, out of all the characters from the Wild Robot, I feel like he's the most arrogant, so he dies. Next up, we have the characters who are so old that they just won't be able to register the commands because they can't really hear them. It's also likely that their bodies won't be able to handle the stress and anxiety and also complete the physical exercise without any mistakes whatsoever. So we have to say goodbye to Fowler, Nana, the Soothsayer, King Peppy, Thrash, and Eccentric Eddie. Then we come to the characters who are so dumb that they don't even know how to play the game. Or if they do, then they just won't play it good. Among them we have Babs, Spike, Hutch, Whitey, Sandy, Douglas, Chunky, Agamemnon, Riff, Everest, and Polly227. Next, we have the Chaos Makers. These are the guys who would create chaos just for the sheer fun of it with no regard for their own personal safety, and because of it would most likely die. We have Eris and the 3 Savage Bunnies from Kung Fu Panda 4. Next up, we have emotional characters. These are the characters who will most likely die just because they can't keep hold of their emotions. Among them, we have Miriam, Fetcher, Mort, Vern, Ozzy, Heather, Lou, Penny, Grug, and Jimbo. And for those of you who are like, Grug is a survivalist, he would definitely survive. The thing is, I also don't think he would understand the rules of the game. We see in the Croods family tree that he just doesn't understand the concept of brain games. Add that to the fact that he's also going to be trying to protect his family and completely forget the rules. Something tells me that he's not going to survive this game. Next, we have the characters who will die as human shields. First off, the Acolyte from The Road to El Dorado would most likely die just because Zekel Khan would use him as a human shield and he'd be okay with it. Same thing with Mrs. Tweedy using her husbands, Mr. Tweedy and Dr. Fry. Dr. Fry would probably gladly do it. Mr. Tweedy would just be too afraid to say no. After that, most of the other characters will eventually make it across the finish line. However, there are characters who are too small that they would never get across the finish line, including pretty much all of the characters from Ants, including Z, Queen Ant, Sergeant Barbatus, General Mandible, Azteca, Grebs, Z's Psychiatrist, the Foreman, Corporal Reaver, and Princess Bala. There's also the Snails from Turbo, including Chet, Smooth Move, Burn, Skidmark, Whiplash, and White Shadow. Sure, they can use their environment, but the problem is that the environment in this game is a barren wasteland. Aside from the humans who would already be far ahead of them, these snails have no chance of crossing the finish line. And if you're thinking, what if Turbo went back to help them? Well, I made a rule that if a character crosses the finish line and they decide to uncross it, then they will die. So Turbo won't actually cross the finish line to help anyone after realizing that if he doesn't, they will die. So unfortunately, all of the snails from Turbo, with the exception of Turbo, die. As I've stated before, Mr. Dinkles doesn't make it just because Biggie is too afraid. He panics and faints and he's left behind. We also have to say goodbye to quite a few of the other trolls, including Cooper, Prince Darnell, King Quincy, Queen Essence, and Penny Whistle. And the reason that I'm doing this is because unlike a lot of the other troll tribes, the funk trolls don't actually have the capability to use their hair like hair jitsu. So you're saying the trolls are super tiny. There's no way they can get across the field. But we see in the Trolls movies and the Trolls show that they can manipulate their hair to the point where I feel like they could definitely grab onto the hands of some of the bigger persons and then use those to swing across the field. And then they would just be able to stop because they are excellent party gamers. And for those of you who are thinking maybe Poppy is a little too emotional, or some of the other trolls would be, I don't think that's the case. I feel like they would be able to just process their emotions to the point where they would focus exclusively on the game just so that they don't die. Then they can mourn their loss once they actually finish the game. And also, the final character that I want to talk about is Wizzy. Even if he was a real person, because he's literally just Tim's imagination coming alive, in this case, I don't think he'd make it just because he actually can't walk. Add that to his small size, and there's no way he makes it. So, along with this, there's the characters who are normal sized, but they don't manage to get across. This includes Grump from How to Train Your Dragon, as he's the kind of dragon who's just so lazy that if he's not flying, he's not moving. We also have to say goodbye to Sleep because she would just sleep the entire game, and if that happens, she could sleepwalk, but something tells me she would miss the command to stop at a red light, and then she would die. We also have to say goodbye to Grandmama Gilman just for one reason. Unlike the other Gilmans who are able to work on both land and water, we never see Grandmama go on land. So because of this, she wouldn't be used to a shrunken down body. She wouldn't know how to walk, so it's likely she wouldn't make it across the finish line. And unfortunately, we have to say the same thing about all of the Shark Tale characters. Even if through some magical means they were able to breathe on land, they wouldn't know how to walk on land. I know we see them walk underwater, but when you're underwater, you also have water supporting you. Here, gravity would just pull them down and they wouldn't be able to get back up without a lot of effort. So we have to say goodbye to Oscar, Don Lino, Angie, Lenny, Lola, Sykes, Ernie, Bernie, Frankie, Luca, Don Feinberg, and Katie Current. And with that, we have all of the characters that we've killed. Now, I promise you this was not planned, but we killed 200 characters, which means that we have 300 players remaining, including Moses, Zipporah, Aaron, Jethro, Tulio, Miguel, Chell, Zekel Khan, Chief Tanabook, Ginger, Mrs. Tweety, Mac, Bunty, Nick, Molly, Joseph, Judah, Zulika, Potiphar, Simeon, the Butler, Shrek, Fiona, Farquaad, the Colonel, Little Creek, Sergeant Adams, Murphy, Sinbad, Morena, Proteus, Kale, Dimus, Rat, Jin, Lee, Luca, Jed, Grum, Chum, Puss in Boots, Prince Charming, King Harold, Queen Lillian, Alex, Marty, Gloria, Maurice, Wallace, Gromit, Victor Quartermain, Philip, Police Constable McIntosh, Lady Tottington, Mr. Mulch, the Cooker, Feathers McGraw, Sean the Sheep, Wendolyn Ramsbottom, Preston, Paella Bakewell, Fluffles, RJ, Hammy, Stella, Dwayne LaFondant, Roddy St. James, Rita, Lib Frog, Spike, The Toad, Artie, Merlin, Vanessa Bloom, Leighton T. Montgomery, Ken, Poe, Shifu, Tai Lung, Oogway, Tigress, Mantis, Crane, Viper, Monkey, Mr. Ping, Zuba, Florrie, Susan Murphy or Ginormica, Bob, Dr. Herbert Cockroach, The Missing Link, General W.R. Monger, Galaxar, President Hathaway, Hiccup, Toothless, Stoic, Gobber, Astrid, Fishlegs, Toughnut, Roughnut, Rumpelstiltskin, Brogan, Gretchen, Cookie, Griselda, Megamind, Chum, Roxanne Ritchie, Music Man, Shen, Wolf Boss, Master Ox, Master Croc, Master Thundering Rhino, Kitty Softpaws, Humpty Dumpty, Jack, Jill, Skipper, Captain Dubois, Vitali, Gia, Stefano, Jack Frost, North, Pitch Black, Bunny Mund, Sandman, Eep, Guy, Ugga, Gran, Thunk, Belt, Turbo, Tito, Angelo, Guy Gagne, Kim Lee, Paz, Mr. Peabody, Leonardo da Vinci, Ms. Grunion, Albert Einstein, Mona Lisa, Valka, Drago, Eric, Valka's Bewilderbeast, and Drago's Bewilderbeast, just because they take 5 steps and they're already across the finish line. Kowalski, Rico, Private, Classified, Corporal, Short Fuse, Dave, Tip, Lucy, Gorg, Lee Shan, Kai, Maymay, Poppy, Branch, Bridget, Gristle, DJ Suki, Satin, Chenille, Guy Diamond, Smidge, Fuzzbert, Cloud Guy, Tim Templeton, Theodore Templeton, Francis E. Francis, Eugene, Stacy, and the 3 triplets because they happen to be police officers, George, Harold, Mr. Krupp, or Captain Underpants, but in this game he was competing as Krupp, just so you know, Professor Poopy Pants, Melvin Sneedley, Grimmel, Yi, Jin, Mr. Burnish, Dr. Zara, Nai, Queen Barb, Delta Dawn, Hickory, Tiny Diamond, Thracio, Dickory, Chaz, King Trolix, Wani, Baby Bun, Gomdori, Ari, and Kim Petite. All of these characters survive because they are bounty hunters, just for the record. Then we also have Phil, Hope, Dawn Betterman, and we also have Sash just because she's wrapped around Dawn's waist. Then we have Lucky, Prue, Abigail, Cora, Al Granger, Hendrix, Tina Templeton, Tabitha Templeton, Carol Templeton, Dr. Erwin Armstrong, Jim Lake Jr., Toby Domzowski, Claire Nunez, Blinky Galadrigal, Arg, Dukesy, Krell, Aja, Steve, Eli, Archie Stewart, Barbara, Strickler, Namora, Varvato Civex, Belrock, Skrell, Nari, Mr. Wolf, Mr. Snake, Mr. Shark, Mr. Piranha, Miss Tarantula, or Webs, Diane Foxington, Professor Marmalade, Misty Luggins, Cuddles, Perito, Goldilocks, Mama Bear, Papa Bear, Baby Bear, Ruby Gilman, Agatha Gilman, Chelsea Vanderzee, Arthur Gilman, Brill Gilman, Trevin, as well as Bliss, because I think she would be into all of the bloodshed going on. Then we also have John Dory, Clay, Bruce, Floyd, Viva, Velvet and Veneer, Dark, Hypatia, Light, Unexplained Noises, Quiet, Sweet Dreams, Keiko Marita, Lady Doppler, Lord Nighty Night, Pierre Pressure, Behemoth, The Warden, Machiavellian, Christina Christo, Big Kingfish, Blue Mackerel, Red Snapper, Jen, the Chameleon, Han, Granny Boar, Captain Fish, and Chip, Rosam Unit 7134, Fink, Bright Bill, Vontra, Thorn, and Pinktail. Now, you might be thinking I'm letting too many characters live, and you could be right. But also, these characters happen to know each other. They would be trying to help each other. That would be what causes a lot of them to survive. But also, if you guys think I didn't kill off the right character, or I killed the wrong character, feel free to comment down below. You explain your reasoning, I'll explain mine, and if enough people agree, maybe the characters I killed can come back, and maybe the characters who lived could die in the next video. So with that in mind, part 2 will not be available until sometime in January. And also, if you want to support the channel, please make sure to join my membership program by going to my channel page or clicking the join button down below. Or, you can just do the free option and subscribe. But with that, I hope that you're all staying safe out there, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye-bye.
What did I do to deserve this? I mean, what specifically?